4 quarterly reports.
That's right.
You were, I think, less sympathetic to the needs of those persons suffering from long-term sequelae, that is to say, suffering from the condition known as long COVID. You questioned for quite some time whether or not that condition truly existed, and you equated it to Gulf War syndrome repeatedly.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Not really, no. But can I just come back on that and say, first of all, the words that I scribbled in the margins of submissions about long COVID have obviously been now publicised, and I'm sure that they have caused hurt and offence to huge numbers of people who do indeed suffer from that syndrome. And I regret very much using that language, and should have thought about the possibility of future publication. And I regret it very, very much. And what I was trying to do was to get to the heart of the matter, get to the truth of the matter, and to try to get my officials to explain to me exactly what the syndrome was. And it actually took quite a long time before I got a proper paper on it. I think it wasn't until I get this wrong now, but I think it wasn't until 2021, summer of 2021, before I actually got a paper on long COVID. But I did, as you say, ask repeatedly to get some information, and that was so I could explain to people what we were doing and what the issue was.
Mr. Johnson, the point is that in October of 2020, you scribbled these remarks on a report to you about the funding from the NIHR into a long COVID survey. You continued to make disparaging references to whether or not this was Gulf War syndrome stuff in February 21, in the context of an update given to you on the 21st of February. And then still later, in June 21, so 9 months or so later, you were still questioning whether or not long COVID was to be equiparated with Gulf War syndrome. So it's not that it's not that the challenge against you is you took a position on long COVID in the absence of a proper clinical understanding or advice from your advisors. It is that notwithstanding the repeated placing of reports before you, you carried on questioning long COVID until many months later.
Well, I'm not certain that's correct, because I don't think I got a full explanation of or a full paper on it until the summer of
the full paper was on the 1st of June 2021. That's correct, and you responded by saying thanks. So it's not exactly Gulf War syndrome. And that was your take on the long COVID condition.
But let's, sorry, I know it's no disrespect to long COVID patients, and I saw in the victim impact videos some of the victims of long COVID, and I can imagine what a dreadful thing it is. But there are also, with Gulf War syndrome, many people who have terrible symptoms for a very long time. There are also people who think they may be suffering, I think this is now accepted, from something associated with the Gulf War, but who are not in fact suffering from something associated with the Gulf War. So what I was trying to say was, where is the line? And please, can someone explain to me what this is? Because I was getting anecdotal accounts of people who were suffering from it, and I wanted to be able to say what we understood it to be and what we were doing about it. And what we were doing about it is fighting COVID, because the way to stop long COVID is to stop COVID.
One final topic in relation to the broad overarching issue of disparity. You indeed commissioned, as you've said, Mr. Johnson, the report by Kemi Badenoch, who led a significant cross-government exercise on the disproportionate impact of COVID on ethnic minorities. I think following